So what is a premise? It's basically the concept, the super short summary of what your story is about. It boils a story down to the most essential parts needed to make up a story. It answers the journalistic questions to a degree. Who is the story about? What must that character do? When does the story take place? Where does the action occur? Why is the story important? The stakes. So it's time to start brainstorming the answers to these questions based on your story or story idea. Take action and write them out. And I think this is something you guys do anyway. Now, I fully expect this premise to shift or change as you really get to know your story. But to begin outlining or drafting at all, you have to have some idea of where you might go. It can morph as it needs to from there. Once you have your answers, you can plug them into a simple formula and string them together. This will create a stripped down summary of your story. The formula starts with the character, your who, adds the situation, your when and or where, plus the goal, what the character must do, and why. This is your story's stakes. These core components of a premise can be stated in just about any order to make a compelling 1 or 2 sentence summary of your story. And note that the when and where are the loosest identifiers, which can be merged together or be substituted for context or situation in the premise. But my recommendation is to start with a character as soon as possible. Just like in your story, a reader can't care much about the other pieces until they have a character lens to judge whether they're favorable based on that character's goals and the story world. For an example to walk you through the process, I'm going to use my old fairy tale retelling that I started writing as a teen. My starting point was reading through old versions of Sleeping Beauty, as I was always fascinated by the very quintessentially medieval fantasy elements in Disney's version. The prince fighting a dragon, the castle, good and evil fairies, a curse, magic, etc. I had wanted to see what older versions were actually like. I found them intriguing in their own ways, but my biggest frustration was that they were still only fairy tales. Because of their sparse nature, they left me with so many more questions about the details and characters. So my seed of a story idea was to rewrite Sleeping Beauty in a full-length novel. Yeah, I never got it that far, but the core idea is still solid. My formula components might look something like this. Who? Sleeping Beauty. What? Break the evil fairy's curse by finding mutual love. Where? Locked in her dream world. When? For 100 years. Or the where/when could also be like the time period or place, such as a medieval kingdom, depending on what's most important for prospective readers to know. And the why? Or doom her entire kingdom forever. So I might put that together following the loose formula into this initial premise. While locked in her dream world for 100 years, Sleeping Beauty must break the evil fairy's curse by finding mutual love or doom her entire kingdom forever. It's okay if it's still a bit rough at this point or if I don't have everything figured out. At least it gives me something to work with and improve. Maybe I'll decide that 100 years actually sounds too long for any real urgency. If the princess couldn't figure something out in 100 years, maybe she's not worth reading about. It's because I can see it laid out like this that the questionable logic, pitfalls, and gaps become more evident. With only idea brainstorming completed, I have lots of room to tweak and reconfigure the story plan itself. Or if it's the premise that's the problem, at least this draft shows what I might need to recast to show off the logic and importance. Now it's your turn. What's your messy first draft premise? Now, I know your story may not fit precisely into this formulaic mold, but you can still adjust the questions or answers so that you can hit the core components of your story.